Jamu, what a woman she is. Oh, Jamu woman. Jamu, what a woman she is. Jamu.
Music of Morel Peaches, Lucha on Chalk City 91.1, a song in tribute to Claudette Blackman, the Jamu woman, a woman of distinction, and we continue with that praise, that affirmation on this International Women's Day, and we actually reach across to the land of wood and water to speak with Nadeen Spence, who is waging a personal campaign battle, and we want to get an idea of what is happening there. We say good morning to you and happy International Women's Day, Nadeen.
Thank you, DK, and good morning to you and Trinidad.
No, there are many things that we as a space, as a region, have signed on to, and very lofty ideals, but at the same time there exists a gap. Now, I'm wondering if you can give us a little overview on some of the things that you are working on with regard to reducing that gap in Jamaica.
Okay, well, it's International Women's Day. The theme is hashtag Be Bold for Change. There are a number of things happening. I'm sure you would have heard in the last quarter of last year, a number of incidents of violence against women and sexual abuse of the girl child came to the fore in Jamaica. I know some of that happened in Trinidad as well, and there was this, concern about how, as a nation, we were going to change what was happening, and a recognition that women were in peril, in danger, and that a lot of the things that we assumed were going good for women, in terms of Jamaica, for example, being the place in the world where you're most likely to have a woman as your manager, speaks to women doing well in middle management, but that on the level of domestic violence and sexual violence and protection of the girl child in particular, we weren't doing well, and that we had a culture that could only be described as rape culture. And so one of the things we did, myself and a group of, we decided that we would face that reality head on, and we would come up with a way to attack significant way this rape culture and to deal with the scourge of sexual violence against women more generally. So we've been doing a lot of work around that, DK. On this weekend, we're having a march in Kingston called the Survivor Empowerment March. That's really a march, too, that is being done across the Caribbean, and I think one is being done in Trinidad with the hashtag Life in Leggings movement, Trinidad, Barbados, Bahamas, Dominica, and Guyana. So it's a Caribbean solidarity kind of move where women are talking about moving the shaming and silencing and the victim blaming that comes along with rape culture. I think as well, one of the things that's happening in Jamaica, that the group that I'm a part of, DK, and I'm sure you're going to like this, we call ourselves the Tambourine Army, and we are Tambourine Warriors. The group that we're a part of also made a submission to the committee reviewing the Sexual Offences Act. And what we're doing there is seeking to change the institutional arrangements that help to create and facilitate an environment of impunity around sexual violence and around the violation of women, girls, and children more particularly. But the Tambourine Army has made that submission, and we did so last week, Wednesday, for the committee. And a part of what we do is, as women, we are concerned with healing and concerned with how those of us who've had to deal with the trauma of sexual assault, sexual abuse, how we get past it and how we support each other through it. So a philosophy of sisterhood and the practice of African traditional religion, because we lost faith in the Christian church and the idea of the church as a healing space. So we are doing a number of things on that front and bringing awareness. We had a number of teach-ins. with Professor Vereen Shepherd looking at slavery and the history of sexual abuse on the plantation. We looked at the laws across the Caribbean and how they figure into the protection of women and the girl child and children generally around sexual abuse. And we looked at some of the agencies in Jamaica that cater to children in danger and how they might be working or might not be working, and the resources that they will need to help them to do their work.
In terms of,
in
terms of raising awareness and actually saying, okay, past statistics and saying, okay, these people or individuals, ladies, women have been reduced to numbers. The Life in Leggings, one of the things they did was humanize and say, okay, well, this person or these people, these individuals have put faces behind the numbers, the stories, the statistics that we hear about. What are some of the things that you have noticed since the Life in Leggings hashtag and actually putting a face to victims, survivors, females in the community, since they have actually been on that digital space?
So one of the things that happened in Jamaica is that after the hashtag Life in Leggings post and women coming forward in Jamaica as well to speak to their own reality, of course there are a number of women talking about their own abuse. And one of our laws, and I think it pertains to Trinidad as well, and I think that's something that you need to put on, and so that women will know that there's no statute of limitation on rape in the Caribbean. In other words, if you were molested, if you were raped when you were a child, and as an adult, want to get justice through the courts and through the justice system, you can do that. So one of the things that happened is that women started to report to the police their own sexual trauma, sexual abuse, if it happened when they were children, and if it happened in the past and they weren't able to do it then. So there's a lot more of that happening now. The police have reported that there is an increase in the report of sexual assault cases over 10 years, etc. The other thing is that more and more people are coming forward now and are willing to say, this happened to me as well. And because they're doing that, what we talk about is how that idea of challenges the silencing. And they're coming forward with that. Also with the principle that it's not my fault and the shame is yours. So it's dealing with those two critical elements of rape culture, silencing and victim blaming. A number of women have come forward. At our march on Saturday, a number of women will be speaking along the route of the march. We'll have 4 stops, and women who are survivors will speak about their journey to healing and their particular sexual trauma. There is a lot more willingness on the part of women to say, I too have had this happen to me. And for that reason, now we talk, it goes back to what you asked about, how has Life in Leggings influenced that? And I think that's where a lot of that started, as the veil was lifted. A number of people turned around and saw that it was possible for them to also not live in secrecy and shame, and they've done that.
Are there people who are trying to pull the veil back down? You spoke about shaming, silencing, blaming. Are there people who are challenging Tambourine Army or trying to reinsert the status quo, as it were, so that this challenge to what generally obtains is no longer there?
Yes, man, there are. The pushback has been real. I remember for 1 week in the mainstream media, we got a lot of flack. We got a lot of people calling to say our advocacy was irresponsible and that we were doing things against the law. All kinds of comments and. But one of the things we had decided from early was that we needed to be a radically different kind of movement. You know, we couldn't do things the same way and expect the status quo to change. If you want status quo change, you're going to have to be radically different in your approach. So even though there has been pushback and criticism, I also see where the time has allowed for more and more people to understand the perspective and to begin to engage us. So that as we progress towards the march, I think the pushback is getting less and less. There are still significant pockets of people who will say, I agree with one thing, but I disagree with something else. But at least now people are willing to say, tell me what you're saying and let's see. And then when we engage in a conversation, the reasonableness of our position is quite apparent, quite clear. Because I don't think we're asking for anything that is, earth-shattering other than women and girls need a space to breathe and to be. And so, because the request is our human right, I think those who stand on the other side of our work find themselves sometimes just on the side of the wrong.
I'm wondering what you think is the relationship between equality and justice. And I ask that looking at the Sustainable Development Goal 5, achieve gender equality and empower all women and girls.
Well, the truth is, part of what is happening now, in the sense that we have such an air of a culture of impunity around sexual assault. A large part of that is because the justice systems do not work in terms of holding perpetrators responsible for their actions. And so when there is no justice for those who have been made victims, then what happens is it becomes okay to perpetuate abuse, to perpetuate a certain way of viewing people, talking about people, and so on. So unless there is a recognition that justice is critical, equality is not going to be an attainable goal. You know, the two walk together. Women have to be seen as worthy of a justice system that protects them and that holds those who violate them responsible.
All right, so I wanna thank you for your time. Now, can I tell you, when I hear Tambourine Army, I think of Raga Shanti. But, but just no. so just explain that for us. Thank you. So the genesis behind did it have anything to do with the attack on the pastor by the congregational member who what she had in her hand was a tambourine?
I don't say that in public, DK. I'm leaving that. But what we talk about though is the tambourine and what it is to the church, especially because it presents that kind of Afrocentric disturbance of the traditional evangelical church order. You know, the tambourine noisy. Mm-hmm. It carries a rhythm with it. Women knock it on their hips sometimes. It's disruptive noise. And the Tambourine Army is causing disruption and challenging status quo, and that's what the tambourine does. Yeah,
I like that version much better. Nadeen Spence, thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you so much for your time. Have a blessed one.
Okay.
And all the best on the march on Saturday, please God, and moving forward.